Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't fit Humpty Dumpty in his place. In the book, Through the Looking Glass, and what Alice found there by Lewis Carroll, Alice walks through a looking glass in her house into a world that, while fantasy, resembles the world we live in. She meets some old favorites like Tweedledum, Tweedledee, the Mad Hatter, and others. But sadly, not all of the people she meets are kind. In this story, I will tell you of her meeting with Humpty Dumpty. He is a great example of what happens of the nonsense that comes from being too prideful, puffed up, and pretending you know better than everyone else around you. And in closing your eyes to these things, you will tumble off of the high wall you have put yourself on. How exactly like an egg he is? It is very provoking to be called an egg. Very. Some eggs are quite pretty, you know. Some people have no more sense than a baby. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't fit Humpty Dumpty in his place again. That line is much too long for poetry. Don't stand there chattering to yourself. Tell me your name and your business. My name is Alice, but it is a stupid enough name. Tell me, what does it mean? Must the name mean something? Of course. My name means the shape I am. And a good, handsome shape it is, too. Why, with a name like yours, you might be any shape at all. Why do you sit out here all alone? Because no one is with me. Did you think I did not know the answer to that? Ask another. Don't you think you'd be safer on the ground? That wool is very narrow. I don't think so. Why, if I ever did fall, which there is no chance of, but if I did, the king has promised me. You may turn pale if you like. The king has promised me, with his very own mouth, to send all of his horses and all of his men? You've been listening outdoors, or you couldn't have known it. I haven't indeed. It's in a book. They may write such things in a book. The history of England. Take a look at me. I am one who has spoken with the king. You will never see such another. However, this conversation is going on too fast. Let us go back to the last remark, but one. I'm afraid I can't quite remember it. In that case, we start fresh. It is my turn to choose a subject. How old did you say you were? 7 years and 6 months. An uncomfortable sort of age. If you had asked my advice, I'd have said, leave off at 7. One can't help growing older, but 2 can. With proper assistance, you might have left off at 7. What a beautiful belt you have. At least a cravat. No, I beg your pardon. It is the most provoking thing when one doesn't know a belt from a cravat. It is a cravat, child, and a beautiful one. I got it as a present from the king, my king now. Gave it to me for an un-birthday present. What is an un-birthday present? A present given when it isn't your birthday, of course. I like birthday presents the best. You don't know what you're talking about. There are 364 days in a year, and only one day for birthday presents. There's glory for you.
There's none missing.
Shh. I don't know what you mean by glory. Of course you don't. There's a nice knockdown argument. But glory doesn't mean nice knockdown argument. When I use the word, it means exactly what I want it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is whether you can make a word mean so many different things. They have a temper, some of them, but I can manage the whole lot of them. Impenetrability. Would you please tell me what that means? Now you talk like a reasonable child. I meant we had had enough of that conversation, and it would do well if you mentioned what you meant to do, because I don't think you mean to stop here for the rest of your life. That's a great deal to make one word mean. When I make a word do a lot of work like that, I always pay it extra. You seem very clever at explaining words, sir. Would you tell me the meaning of the poem, Jabberwocky? Let's hear it. I can explain all the poems ever invented, and a good deal that haven't been invented quite yet. 'Twas Briggle, and the toves did gimble in the way. Oh, Mimsy were the burrow goats. That's enough. Briggle means 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the time for broiling things for dinner. And what are toves? Well, toves are something like badgers, and there's something like lizards, and there's something like corkscrews. They also make their nests under sundials and live on cheese. And what is to gimble? To gimble is to make holes, like a gimlet. The wave is the grass pot around the sundial, I suppose. Of course. It's called the wave, you know, because it goes a long way before, and a long way behind, and a long way to each side. Well then, Mimsy is flimsy and miserable, and a burgo is a shabby-looking bird thing with its feathers sticking all about. Looks rather like a live mop. Who's been repeating all of this hard stuff to you? I read it in a book, but I've had some poetry repeated to me much easier than that. As to poetry, you know, I can repeat poetry as well as any other person. If it comes to that. Oh, it needn't come to that. The piece I'm going to repeat was written entirely for your amusement. I sent a message to the fish, the little fishes of the sea. They sent a message back to me. We cannot do it because... I'm afraid I don't quite understand. It gets easier further on. I sent it to them again to say it will be better to obey. The fishes answered with a grin. Why, what a temper you are in. I told them twice they would not listen to advice. I took a kettle large and new, fit for the deed I had to do. I filled the kettle at the pump. Then someone came and said, the little fishes are in bed. I went and shouted in his ear, but he was very proud. I took a corkscrew from the shelf and went to wake them up myself. I pulled and pushed and knocked, and I found the door was shut. I tried to turn the handle flat. Is that all? That's all. Goodbye. Goodbye until we meet again. I shouldn't know you if we did meet again. You're so exactly like other people. Your face is the same that everyone has. The eyes here, the nose in the middle, the mouth underneath. Now, if your mouth is at the top, that might make some difference. It wouldn't look very nice. Wait until you've tried. Goodbye. Of all the unsatisfactory people She never finished this sentence, for at that moment, a heavy crash shook the forest from end to end.
Remember,